Hey, smile. I literally just said smile, you idiot. Smile. Perfect. Good job. Good job.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a little while since I uploaded one of these kind of videos, but I'm very excited to be back, and I'm very excited to talk about today's topic. Today we're going to be talking about all things Wicked.
Oh, yeah, that's wicked.
Just played the PTB this week, and I gotta tell you, it's looking pretty good. But without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Starting things off, we have the Unknown, which brand new killer coming to the game. Looks definitely nowhere near like they've morphed Dwight, but besides that joke, genuinely, he's got those creepypasta vibes going on, and I love the aesthetic. I love the fire axe weapon. My only real gripe that I would say is I wish he crawled on all fours, but he does in fact have a little bit of a silly walk to him. And coming in with a less goofy walk, we got the new survivor, Sable Ward, who apparently, from all of what we've kind of seen from reading through the lore, she's actually best friends with Michaela, one of our existing survivors already. And I guess in her lore she said, hey, I'm just jealous that Michaela is getting to do all these fun things, so I'm gonna go find Michaela. And she just, poof, vanished off, and here she is. Now again, design-wise, I love it. I love her aesthetic. I am all here for another witch character, another goth aesthetic character. You know, we've had that sort of aesthetic here and there, but it's a classic. You can never go wrong with it, and from what I've seen from the community, a lot of people are pretty happy with her design overall. And for both characters, I'm definitely excited to see what they got cooking for actual cosmetics for them in the store. Moving things along, let's take a look at the perks. First up for the Unknown, we have Unbound, which is this perk activates for 30 seconds after a survivor becomes injured by any means. After vaulting a window, you gain 5% haste for 10 seconds. This effect unfortunately cannot stack with itself. So I tried messing around with this perk a little bit in the PTB, trying different builds with it, and as of right now, and this could be because I was trying it a lot more on the newer map where there are fewer windows, I didn't really find this perk to be amazing. Now, again, adding into this, if you are to stack stuff like Bamboozle, it feels like you're almost putting too much into vaulting windows into your build that it just doesn't really pay off, and you could easily replace Unbound with something that's going to help you a lot more. Even for me, it feels just way too niche, and like I probably might use it every once in a while at best. It's not really going to be a perk on people's radars, at least from what I could tell from first impressions. Next up, we have Undone. When a survivor misses a healing or repair skill check, you gain 3 tokens up to 30. When you perform the break action on a generator, if you have any tokens, you consume all of them. For each token consumed, the generator loses 1% total progress, and then becomes blocked for 1 second. Then, once the generator is unblocked, it starts regressing, and the perk then goes on a 60-second cooldown. To clarify, of course, the 1% loss of progress and the 1 second of block time are multiplied based upon what your token total is when you kick. So if, for example, you have 18 tokens while you kick because people had screwed up about 6 times or so, then bam, that is 18% right off the gen, and it's locked down with tendrils for 18 seconds. And after testing this one out a few times as well, I found this one to be actually pretty useful. It's a pretty good gen perk. I think it might be able to replace some currently used ones, or at least serve as more of an alternative choice if people kind of want to mix up their builds a bit. And for the final perk on the Unknown, we have Unforeseen. When you perform the break action on a generator, your terror radius transfers to the generator for 30 seconds, and its radius is set to 32 meters. You gain undetectable for that duration, and then the perk goes on cooldown for another 30 seconds. Now, if I look at this perk and I think, are we really going to see this perk commonly in matches? Likely not. You're probably going to see it for the first little bit when it comes out, because most of the people playing the unknown are going to want to do their achievements, of course. But I really genuinely like it. I am someone that really loves using Dark Devotion, because again, you don't see people use it often, so it fucks with people whenever they're, trying to wonder where's the killer. And in this case, it's going to be like, oh, the killer's camping this generator, I better avoid this, and suddenly you're coming up right behind them and smacking them right in the back of the head. So do I foresee this perk getting a lot of use? Generally, no. Will I be using it a lot? Probably. And if you're someone like me that likes to kind of mix up your builds a lot, hopefully it'll see its way into your builds too. Before moving on to the Survivor's perks, I think it's important that we take a little look at the killer's power first. The Unknown's power is called UVX. So you press the power button to charge UVX, and once it's ready, you press the attack button to launch UVX. It's a bouncing projectile which creates a blast area upon impact. Survivors become hindered if touched by a UVX while airborne. Survivors touching the blast area become weakened. Weakened survivors lose health states if touched by blast areas. Survivors lose weakened by successfully staring down the unknown. He also has an alternative special ability called Hallucinations. The unknown will intermittently create hallucinations. Hallucinations cannot be created while charging UVX, performing interactions, or in proximity to map objects like hooks. Whenever survivors are touched by blast areas or otherwise become weakened, the next hallucination spawn time decreases by 10 seconds. The unknown can teleport to hallucinations, leaving behind a temporary decoy. Survivors can remove hallucinations from the trial with the Dispel ability. Weakened survivors take longer to dispel. If Dispel is not completed, survivors become weakened and trigger Killer Instinct. Some of you might be asking, what did you just say to me, Panda?
Huh?
Like, what is that? What does any of that even mean? So, if I'm to try to break it down in the easiest form, think about Clown and Clown throwing bottles. So, it's kind of like that type of aim, but with a Death Slinger sort of charge up of having to hold your right click before left clicking to fire. It has the same sort of arc as a bottle throw, and it'll first only just throw an infliction onto players. Now, once players are exposed with said infliction, the next time they're hit with a grenade's blast, they will take a health state. But the survivor can remove this state by simply looking behind them and staring at the killer. That will eventually slowly drain down their bar so they cannot be afflicted, and the killer will have to reinfect them once again. It also was including, the first part of it, is that if you hit a person directly with the actual ball projectile, but not the actual explosion, it will temporarily slow their movement speed down instead. But that is essentially how the power works for the more offensive part of it. Now, with the hallucinations, the killer simply has a passive that allows him to drop little doubles of himself down on the map, similar to a hag trap. But, it's not a triangle, it's a...
Then you'll say, we're not talking about this, or this, we're talking about...
a full physical body that is very clear to see, and the survivors can walk up and they just hold down the interaction button, and they can remove the hallucination away. And from baseline, the killer can have up to 5 hallucinations that will cycle through being spawned. And, of course, as well, each time that someone is afflicted and injured through his powers ability, that will allow him to also reduce his spawn time of the hallucinations by an extra 10 seconds, so he can keep pressuring the map, essentially, with his presence. He can also use his alternate ability to teleport directly to one of these fake bodies he leaves behind. But don't worry, once again, as it is explaining, those will not spawn next to hooks, pallets, or anything else of importance, or if he is charging his power. And now, up first, for Sable's perks, we have Invocation Weaving Spiders. When in the basement near the circle, press the ability button 1 to begin the invocation. Invocations take 120 seconds. Other survivors will see your aura during this and can join in ongoing interaction, increasing speed by 50% each. If they have an invocation perk equipped, they increase its speed by 100% instead. Once the invocation is completed, you become injured and gain the broken status effect for the rest of the trial. All remaining generators gain 15 charges instantly. Completing the invocation disables that perk for all survivors. So to sum that one up, 2 minutes of channel time in the basement around a little summoning circle.
Oh my god! Oh my look! Dude!
And you're rewarded with no mither for the rest of the game, but all the generators on the map are instantly brand new parted. Now, is it worth it? Do I really see people actually using this perk? Week 1, yes, because, you know, invocations, it's new, it's cool, it's fun. I mean, I'm gonna probably use it, let's be honest, you'll see people doing it, but I can't see it really being useful in a more serious game where people are really hoping to escape. Just the downside for what the upside is, the 2 minutes spent on trying to invocate in the first place could have just been easily spent on generators, and as well as not even putting yourself in danger being in the basement vulnerable as is. I just can't foresee it really getting as much use as I would really hope a new perk type would. But who knows? You know, the community could surprise us, so we'll just have to wait and see where it goes. Next up, we have Strengthen Shadows. When in the basement, this perk activates, unlocks the Strengthen Shadows ability, which allows you to heal without a medkit at 60% normal healing speed. When you finish a heal in the basement, you see the killer's aura for 10 seconds. Right here we have a case of quirky basement self-care, at 60% heal speed as opposed to the normal healing speed of 35% from self-care. So it is a bit of a good jump, and you do get a 10-second aura reading on the killer, but you do have to only do it in the basement, and that's where I have the problem with it. If you are going to be pairing it with a lot of the newer perks and going to be in the basement a lot, then you know what? Go for it. I would say perfectly fine to run it, and you know, it may actually just be a better alternative to self-care. Maybe. It's going to really, you know, take time to depend on which one's really going to be better. Most people don't really run self-care these days, so this might actually bring people back into trying to use a self-care type perk.
Coming to bed, honey?
Yes, dear.
Sable's final perk is called
Wicked.
Now, before reading this, I'm going to note a very important thing. What I'm about to read is what was on the PTB version, but has since been changed by the developers and is going to be completely different, or at least have more of an updated effect once it's brought to live. But just for important reference here, we'll read as to what it was while we were playing the test. This perk starts with 1 token up to a maximum of 5. For each token, you recovered from the Mangled status effect 20% faster. For each 15 seconds spent in the basement, gain 1 token. While affected by the curse status effect, you heal 10% faster. Unfortunately, I didn't really get to test this perk out to the extent that I wanted to, but just by reading it though, having to spend over 1 minute and 15 seconds in the basement alone, this 100%, if you're going to be doing invocations, it's worth it. If you're not doing invocation, I would not ever run this, like, at all. The amount of time that you would have to spend down there to even make it worth it, it's just wasting time. You could be on a generator, you could be running the killer, you could be healing teammates, you could be doing so much more than just standing there. But again, if you have an invocation, worth it. But of course, this is not the official effects, so possibly this is hopefully the part that they're going to be addressing with the final updated version of this, because the Mangled status effect recovery sounds fantastic. The whole extra 10% faster healing when the killer has a hex totem, fantastic. So I'm hoping that they keep at least the core identity of this perk, because I really see it being useful. That's all for the new perks. The only other last thing to discuss: Greenville Square. That's our brand new map with the beautiful theater featured in the middle. Now, aesthetically, this map is beautiful. You'll see from the gameplay in the background while we've been talking, it looks great. The inside of the theater, great attention to detail, all behind the counter. There's very good loops in it too, believe it or not, like the parking lot area. There's a whole little forest area surrounding, and there's just a bunch of new tiles. And I gotta say, like, the big statue area too, the park side, again, behavior, they nailed it. It looks great. And for once too, it's a big map that actually doesn't feel overwhelming. At least I was noticing I wasn't feeling like it was too overwhelming. Like, you go on to Red Forest, or you go on to Ormond, and you just feel like you're having to go across miles upon miles upon miles. And, you know, this may be a similar size, but, you know, with how the tiles are laid out, I feel like it's a little less overwhelming for most killers. But, again, we were playing a lot of the new killer, so, you know, we were able to at least teleport, so maybe that big map just didn't feel as big because of that. That's just a theory, of course, but nonetheless, though, the map itself looks great. Gameplay-wise, the new tile is a very welcome addition. Anything new, always great. I don't really have anything negative I can really say on it, other than, you know, like, we'll see if there's anything that ends up being more of a really bad tile spawn, but let's hope for the best for sure. To wrap things up, all things Wicked 100% is going to be a day one purchase for me. I'm really looking forward to it. I think the killer design, the survivor design, both excellent. The killer's gameplay, really cool. The perks on both sides as a whole, I think definitely could use some more, you know, tweaks, or, you know, they could have been a bit better. But I think there's a couple, you know, hidden gems in there that, you know, may surprise people a little bit if people really start to catch on with them. But just like with any other perks in the past, you know, we'll really just have to see where the meta goes with things. As for the map Greenville Square, again, very excited to have another map addition to the pool of maps that we already have. And hey, you know, I'm just saying, Trickster map, Twins map, you know, the twins that you've forgotten about, the whole me and like one or two other people in the world even bother to touch the character. They could have a pretty cool, you know, French town themed map. You know, the Trickster could have a cool cyberpunk themed map or something like that. You know, anything, you know, very Neon City, talking to you behavior.
Give me that goddamn map! I think I just deleted our servers. I'm sorry.
But gripes aside, of course, I am genuinely excited to have this movie theater, and they did a really good job on it. They just keep proving they're good at making the maps, at least aesthetically, at the very least. One last important thing that I did forget to touch on at the beginning of this video that is important, but not related to what I really want to talk and really dive into more on this video, was some killers are also getting some updates in this upcoming patch. The Huntress and the Clown getting both more bottles and hatchets, the Pig getting some tweaks to her traps, and the Hag, the Demogorgon, the Doctor, and the Blight also getting some tweaks in the next patch as well. Additionally, we'll also be receiving Bloodweb improvements and a Mangled update of all things. Overall, this is the first original chapter in I don't know how long that I've been really pumped to play. And I've seen a lot of other people that share the same sentiment as I do. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But that is going to be all for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully this video's discussion helped you either learn a thing or two, or just got you a little bit more excited for the chapter just like I am. But that's going to be all for me today. So thank you so much for joining, and I hope you have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, night, whatever time it might be for you. Check us out on twitch.tv/honestpanda_, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care, and have a good one. POV, you're watching an Honest Panda stream. God damn it. Yeah, I'm a sneezy boy, okay? What about it? Bless this cat, indeed.